Welcome back to Picks from the Sticks. This is Garrett and Brent. We're back for another horse episode. We have added a voice, another figure to our program. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. What about you, Brent?
Well, doing good. We did two last week. We figured it doesn't hurt to add another brain into the mix. So we'll see if Joe can add any more insights.
Right.
Last week, I spent the whole time after we recorded trying to get it on YouTube. Did not work. So I took the audio, just put it on podcast. So hopefully this time I have a little more time. We're not doing it the day of the races. I'll have some time to actually fiddle with YouTube and try to get the video up. So hopefully that'll be up when somebody's watching this.
Gotcha.
All right. So we're going to just go over Saturday's races for this episode. We're going to go over three parks, three of the bigger ones, Churchill, Santa Anita, and Gulfstream. Churchill has a huge pick 5 up in their last 5 races, $500,000 guaranteed on the pot. So we're going to zero in on that one. We're going to do one race at Gulfstream and a couple stakes at Santa Anita. But probably the bigger news in horse racing, the Belmont will be the first leg of the Triple Crown this year. How do y'all feel about that?
Yeah. I was kind of thinking something like that would happen because, they would have to reschedule it to go, all the way into, October if they wanted to keep it in the same order. Right. So I was thinking.
And then the 3-year-olds are almost 4-year-olds. So
especially once Pimlico and the Preakness decided they were going to do the first week of October, there was really no chance for the Belmont to slide in without affecting Breeders' Cup, which is first weekend of November.
Right.
So it's basically destined the Belmont was going to have to try to slide in somewhere probably at the early part of the Triple Crown. So it's not really going to be a normal Triple Crown by any means, but at least we should still have all 3 of the races. Belmont won't be at 1.5 miles. It'll just be at 1 1/8 miles.
Yeah, they're backing it up.
Since you don't want to get those 3-year-olds to try to run that far before they do the other 2 races anyway. But I'm excited for it. At least we'll still have some quality horse racing. It's good that New York's opening up their tracks here in the near future.
And that'll probably be the biggest field the Belmont will ever have, being first up. So your New York people like it. They can't watch it in person, but they can watch it on TV, and that'll be the biggest Belmont stakes probably in a while. The most talent for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to start. We're probably going to go from lowest skill level up to the highest. We're going to start with Gulfstream. Race 10 at Gulfstream, that is the highest class race they are putting on for the day. A 9-horse field. Fellas, is there any particular horse that you like in this one?
Do you want to start, Joe, or do you want me to?
I'll go ahead and start. Okay. Yeah, just, like we were talking before, I gotta not only for the namesake, but just because I like what he's looking like. Coop Tries Harder, number 5.
Yep.
Morning line 3-1. It looks like they've been steadily moving him up in class, and he's been, performing better and better. Had a really nice last outing.
That was his fastest race ever. His highest speed rating.
Yeah. So right on pace, and I think he's got as good a shot of any. It was 106 that he ran last. I think this is, if I'm not wrong, also 106, same distance. So
at 17-1, lost by a neck. So he's on the up and up.
Yeah.
And this is a wide open race. The morning line favorite is 5-2, the number 9, but then there's 2 horses at 3-1, the 8 and the one you mentioned, the number 5, and then there's another horse at 7-2, just 3.5-1, the 1 horse. So all 4 of those are going to be vying for favoritism in this race. The one that I want to touch on is running for Riz, the 8 horse. He's 3-1, main track only, and we're expecting this one to end up going to the dirt instead of the turf. It's definitely not for sure at this point, but if it does, then I think the 8 definitely gets a big bump up and would be one of the bigger factors.
Well, you kind of stole my pick, Joe, but the 5, I love when horses perform well at the track that they are currently on. It's like picking the home team in basketball. This horse is 3 for 3 in the money at Gulfstream. And I love picking show horses. I have my own Twitter account where I pick shows where I'm perfect. So this will probably be one that I will look to show. Before we get into the Santa Anita, Joe, since you're new, me and Brent went over last episode. there any particular play that you love? Do you love wins? Do you love pick fours? Do you love exactas?
I'm the exacta king, dude. I love popping off a random like $4 exacta box on some like mid-graded stakes kind of shit, and
Sure.
it just I can always like every 2 or 3 months hit a like $200 or $300 exacta box, and it only comes maybe once or twice a year.
Do you only put 2 horses, or do you box?
That's all I need. Max, maybe I'll go 3. I mean,
Maybe
if I can't narrow it down, yeah, I'll go 3.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I love playing those exactas and trifectas, and sometimes not even boxing them, but just trying to pick out which horse I may be able to get up for second or third at a good price.
Yeah. So if I can get like a favorite at a decent price, like one that's not just completely crushing, almost even money, and another like value pick, and they come in, I can
Sure.
So I like hitting those exact. I hit the Pegasus Cup exacta.
Yeah. Nice.
And I hit
with Mr. Freeze.
With Mr. Freeze, yeah.
Nice,
And
nice.
I think that was a 3-horse exacta box. Forget who else I had in there. And then I had my tri-ruined. What was that last run? Was it the Florida Derby that Tiz was at? And
Chivalry screwed you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, dude. I had the try, and I think I had the super too, honestly. And,
my pick in that race was Independence Hall. He didn't like the distance there. Because the Law, definitely an exciting horse, and one we'll be talking about in future episodes when he gets back on the track.
Yeah. So for those picks, do you have a particular site that you use that you prefer over another?
I use Twin Spires.
Twin Spires. Yeah.
It's just easy interface, good app, and
sure.
That's the only one I've ever been on.
All right, let's move on to Santa Anita. They have 2 graded stakes this weekend. They have one at race 5. They have a grade 3 for $100,000. I didn't get a ton of time to look over this one. You guys, do you have a particular horse that you're keying in on this stakes race?
Yeah, there's a couple horses that I've heard of before that I'm kind of familiar with. Definitely no superstars in this field, but a couple that have shown up in pretty decent races in the past and definitely could perform well. The one that I would probably take a stab at would be Sistron, the number 5 horse.
Yep.
The horse has run in some bigger graded stakes recently and has hit the money in a couple of them. So I think this is a horse that definitely would be the main one to key on. It depends on what his odds end up going at, but I think this is definitely the horse to beat is the 5.
Definitely 5's your one to beat. But if I'm looking at that right, did the 6 run a 107 6 furlong race? If so, that is some serious speed there. The last race, that is pretty quick for 6 furlongs.
Yeah, that's over in the UAE though. Hard to just compare the time straight up. Did still get a pretty good speed figure at 108, but it's hard to compare the times. I mean, I don't really know how the tracks are run out there. So, yeah, definitely that's why he looks like the 6 is the morning line favorite. But coming over from the UAE, first race back in America, I'll take a horse that's comfortable out in California, the 5.
Sure. Really, for a graded 3, this is a pretty good race. 5, 6, and 7 are probably your top 3. And the 4 is no slouch. He ran a 117 6.5. He's off in his last race, but off of a long layoff. So kind of a studded field. I'll definitely watch this one. Race 5. It's supposed to go off about 5:30 our time.
Yeah, these are some great turf sprinters. Honestly, some of the best in the world.
All right, Joe, do you got any picks?
Well, I was going to say his career hasn't really, showed a lot of returns, but, he loves the turf, the number 2 horse here. His last outing ran a 112 on a 116, so he definitely has the speed to match some of these guys.
And
you'll probably get value on him, too.
Well, that's not a bad race either. Look at that race. That was the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I mean, he finished 4th. The 3 horses that beat him are probably the only 3 better than him in this whole entire division.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and besides that, he's had a lot of good placings on turf and loves this kind of distance. So, he's got the speed to compete, and you'll probably get some value on him too with all these heavy hitters in here.
All right, we will move up a grade to a grade 2 at Santa Anita, race 8, the Charles Wintington, I think I said that right, stakes. How much is that for? That is for $200,000. 7-horse field. Kind of another star-studded race, but the 5 is probably going to be your overwhelming favorite. United morning line 6-5. Won a Grade 2 here at Santa Anita in February at a mile and a quarter. Same jockey probably will be your favorite out of the gate. Do you guys see any other competitors?
Well, just looking at the 6 right below, the 6 ran an unbelievable race his last out. He's definitely going up in class a lot. Not usually runs. His last 2 haven't been graded stakes, but the last one he ran a big race, won by 5 lengths, and got a 125 speed figure. Originaire, the 6, is won the challenge, but it's hard to pick against United here. The thing is, United's been in some close races. That's the thing about these turf races. They always seem to come down right to the wire.
Yeah, no kidding.
United almost beat Bricks and Mortar in Bricks and Mortar's career send-off, the Breeders' Cup turf last year, where Bricks and Mortar finished the season undefeated, and United was one of the closest horses to catch him. Then coming back, his next race finished second by a neck, and then in his most recent race, his first race of 2020, won by a half a length. So is always right there, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's able to nab him at the wire, but I think that United is definitely going to be in the top 2.
Definitely. You see his odds in that Breeders' Cup turf, 52-1.
Yeah, came out of nowhere.
Lost by a head.
Yeah.
Very, very close. Joe, do you got any sneaky horses in this one?
I gotta say, I don't think this one's really a sneaky one. I mean, clearly United and Originaire are the 2 top favorites here, and United just looks so comfortable at this distance. It's hard to say that he isn't the clear odds-on favorite here, and I don't think anybody really comes close. I mean, no one else just has the resume here.
No.
He does.
All right, so we will shift gears over to Churchill Downs, where they have a big pick 5. They have 5 stakes race starting at race 7, and they have a pick 5 going that is a $500,000 guaranteed pool. So with the pick 5, what you're doing is you're picking winners, and you pick as many horses as you want in those 5 races. But to get your payout, you take however many horses you have in each race, multiply them together, and you'll get a pretty large number if you pick more horses, obviously. And then you multiply that number by the minimum bet number, or the bet amount, which is 50 cents, which is what most people bet. And that will get how much your bet costs. So winners, to get your cost, multiply how many horses you have together. And that gives you how many chances you have to win, how many different combinations. And then the payout is pool based. So however many winning tickets there are split with that pool among the winners.
Yeah,
so
pick 5 is very tricky.
Yeah.
To hit 5 consecutive races. Normally you'll hear people play the pick 3s or smaller where you have to hit 3 races in a row. 5 is not easy to do, and if you put multiple horses on every single race, that ticket can get pretty expensive pretty quickly. But it is very lucrative. You talk about how you divide it by however many people get it right. If you're one of the winners and you get a couple decent prices there, you definitely could be looking at a very fat check.
Yes. All it takes is one long shot for to come in, and you have them on there, and only you and a few other people, and you're winning quite a bit of
Everyone else's
money.
Tickets are busted. So it's a fun play, but you can spend a lot of money and be out in the first leg.
Yes, you could quickly. Yeah, if one of your horses does not come through, you're done. So runs 5 races, and they're all stakes starting at race 7. It will start around 4 o'clock our time. There are races obviously leading up to this, but this is the main show of the day. We will start with race 7. It is the Shawnee Stakes for $100,000. It is mile and 16th on dirt. I am looking at the 4-horse here as it is morning line. Let's see here. Heavy favorite, I believe.
Yes.
Let me pull it. Load.
Pretty clear.
Morning line 4-5.
Yeah. Dunbar Road. If there is one race to just pick one horse to try to save on some of the price, it may be the very first leg with Dunbar Road.
Yep.
And she's one of the best fillies around. She's proven it time and time again, especially last year. ran really well throughout the season. I think she had to miss the Kentucky Oaks, but came back and ran 3 consecutive wins before. She did struggle in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, but a horse that has beaten a lot of good fillies and most of the fillies better than the ones in this field.
Yeah, I mean, 7 lengths off the winner in a grade 1, not terrible coming down to a 100K stake at Churchill. I will look at the 8 though. What is it? She's a Julie. Yep, last race out in 2019, just like Dunbar Road, was 6 lengths off Blue Prize, that same horse that won the distaff. So if there were any competitors, I would look at the 8, but the 4 should be your winner in this one.
Yeah, those two would definitely be the ones that I would use.
Yeah.
If I do get a long shot pick in here, it may be Chocolate Kisses, the 2 horse, just because I think that both Dunbar Road and She's a Julie may be sitting a little bit off the pace.
Yep.
And if nobody challenges Chocolate Kisses early, she may be able to take this field. She's ran well before, but she's definitely a hit or miss type horse.
Yeah, definitely. Got any sleepers, Joe?
I'm kind of looking at one I like just a little bit. I don't know how you guys feel about her. Another Broad, going off morning line 10-1. She had not a bad race in January. Ended up showing, just got out kicked down the stretch, but I mean, raced in a 105 and put out a pretty decent score off the pace there. So I don't know. I mean, she's got the speed to match, I think, in this faster race where you don't have a lot of speed.
Yeah, the one thing concerning about the 2 favorites, Dunbar Road and She's a Julie, neither of them have ran in 2020.
Nope.
So to pick just 2 horses that are coming off a long layoff, that is a little scary when they're both the 2 heavy favorites. So it definitely wouldn't hurt to add in a horse that has had a warm-up race or 2 in 2020 and maybe hitting their peak.
So we're going to try to build a fake ticket with these that people can use.
Okay. I mean, if you're playing a pick 5, yeah, I mean, Dunbar Road is your clear pick here.
Okay.
I mean, there's no one really that comes close, but if there was going to be a spoiler, I would say probably the number 2 or the number 5. Yeah.
All right, so we'll leave 4 singled at the moment, and then we'll circle back if we want to. All right, moving to the next race, race 8. It is the Tippin Stakes. It is 1 mile on turf. It is for fillies 3 years and up. Huge field, 14 horses. There is a lot to choose from. Do you guys have any particular horses circled?
Yeah, it's a big field. This is the toughest one, in my opinion, out of the 5 to handicap. It's a big field of young horses that, this is one of the divisions I'm less familiar with. Fillies, 3-year-old fillies on turf. So don't really know any of these horses. Haven't seen too many of them race in the past. It's hard for me to find any that I'm super impressed with right now.
I had one highlighted, the 14, has not ever lost. Always a good stat to look at. That has never been beaten.
The five also is coming off of 2 wins. She's moving way up in class is the problem. So
I think I did hear also Hindi Woods is going to scratch in this race. I saw an article about that Mark Cassey was interviewed, a trainer. He's also the trainer of War of Will and Sir Winston, a couple other horses I was following, but he talked about Hindi Woods in this one. I think so. I think the 5 will scratch in this race, according to her trainer.
Gotcha.
So since we're building a pick 5, I think a 14 is a guarantee on the ticket to put on there.
Yeah, in a race like this is one of the races you want to cover as many bases as possible.
The 9 sharing ran a 134 mile. In a grade 1, what was that? The juvenile. Yeah, sharing won the juvenile. I do remember that.
I like that a lot.
So the 9 is another one you definitely throw out there. 14 and the 9.
7's coming off of 3 wins, but also moving way up in class. So you don't know if that can be really
a good jump. So this is one of those races where you hope that you have something singled somewhere else so that you can throw a bunch of horses on it, because this is probably the most wide open stake, like Brent said, of the pick 5. Well, this is a star-studded cast. Definitely will watch this one. It'll go off around 4:40 our time. That's about it. We'll probably circle back to this one.
Those two look like the clear two you definitely want to use, but it's scary still to just have two in a race like this.
Yes, definitely. Even the 13 Queen of God, 2 back-to-back wins, moving up in class as well, but can't be overlooked.
Not a huge jump from her last race. So
Nope, not terrible. Does switch jockeys, loses Irad Ortiz. Trainer's doing okay recently. But not terrible. That's quite a few horses that you can pick from in that one. All right, we'll jump to another big field in race 9. It is, what is this one called? It is the Blame Stakes. Yep.
Why have I heard of Long Range Toddy before?
He was in the Derby last year. He's one of the horses that was interfered with by.
Right.
Yep.
That's actually the horse that Maximum Security ended up having to move behind. Yep. So Long Range Toddy finished in the Derby 17th. So that's why Maximum Security officially placed 18th, because he had to come as far back as the last horse he interfered with, which was Long Range Toddy.
That's right.
All right, so this one's for 4-year-olds. It's a mile on dirt. Another large crew, but not quite as talented, I don't think, as the last cast. I'm looking at personally, a little underrated, I think the 9-horse, Extraordinary Jerry. Morning line 12-1, coming off back-to-back wins, moving up in class a little bit, but ran a 135 stakes race at Gulfstream, coming to Churchill for the first time, but is 4 for 6 in the money on dirt. I think that's a pretty good price here on the number 9. That would be my underdog for the race. Do you guys have any what's your picks?
And this is a horse that I've always liked. The number 8, Owendale, would be my first pick. A horse that has run well in the past, won a couple graded stakes last year, actually 3 graded stakes last year. And then in the most recent couple of races, started racing against some even bigger competition. And his first race against older horses was the Breeders' Cup Classic. So a hard race to try to jump into, but came back really well at Churchill Downs in his last race in the Clark, and only lost to Tom's d'Etat, who's one of the top horses in the world right now. So Owendale, if he still has that form from last year, I think would be one of the horses to beat in this field.
Look at his workouts. 59, 5 furlong, 101, 59, and 1. Those are his last 4 workouts. Those are bullets. So
yeah, I really like Owendale as a horse. I was a fan of his last year, and I think that he's definitely the horse to beat in this field. But he is a horse that likes to come off the pace. So if there's a horse near the lead, it may be tough for Owendale to catch if he still has a lot left in the tank.
The only one I'm kind of staring at right now, and he's kind of fallen off in his past 2 races, but Mr. Money he was like a 2019 darling kind of. I mean,
yeah, he loves milers.
His Pennsylvania Derby where he ran a 121 and a 114 class was pretty impressive. So I don't know if he can get right here after this showing at the Oaklawn Mile.
And they pocketed $1.1 million in 2019. That's a pretty good season.
My one concern on Mr. Money is that I don't think he's able to, at least he hasn't proven in his 2 races so far that he's able to race against older horses. He dominated the miler division against 3-year-olds last year, but he tried to run in the dirt mile against older horses and against the top horses, wasn't able to compete. And then I did bet him in his last race in the Oaklawn Mile with Tom's d'Etat and Improbable, but and Tom's d'Etat and Improbable both ran really good races that day, and
he did
Mr.
not
Money
show up.
Didn't, so
he did not.
Yeah, no. I will stay away from Mr. Money because his last 2 races have kind of proven. Yeah, I think he may be a step below this kind of competition, even though this is not like a grade 1 race by any means. It has some grade 2 caliber horses in this race, and I think that Mr. Money may be just a step below those.
No, that's kind of what I was thinking. His record was interesting to me, but his last, especially that Oaklawn Mile showing, kind of.
So we can pencil in the 8 and the 9 in this one. Give me my undervalued 9 here.
Another horse I want to talk about, though, is Global Campaign, the 3-horse. Global Campaign, he was a horse that I really liked last year in the Fountain of Youth. Code of Honor ended up winning it, who ended up running second in the Derby. But Global Campaign has come back to run good races since then. He won the Peter Pan Stakes and then ran third to a couple really good horses, Tax and Tacitus, 2 out. Then came back this year in his first race back, won against a couple horses that have been good horses. Yorkton's won some stakes. Spinoff was also in that race, who ran second in the Louisiana Derby last year. So Global Campaign is a horse that has he has really good pedigree as well. So it's a Curlin baby out of an AP Indy mare.
Yep.
So Global Campaign is a horse that could take this field as well.
Well, he started off his 4-year-old campaign with his highest speed rating ever. So definitely in decent form. That was in April. All right, so you want to add the 3 on there as well. Those 3 horses, are we penciling those in?
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. We have to throw in Hesse's favorite, Owendale. I mean, he probably bets that horse in every race he's ever won.
Yeah.
All right, Owen, 3, 8, and 9. I've got down for that
Owendale.
one.
I did have to fade him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I didn't like him.
That was a good move. That was a good move.
You know Owendale. That was your reasoning, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, moving along to race number 10. We have the Matt Wynn Stakes. It is a 1.16 miles on dirt. For how much?
This is probably for one. I'm not sure how much the price is, but this is definitely the most hyped race of the weekend. It's a Kentucky Derby prep race. It's a points race. The winner of this race will get 50 points towards entry to the Kentucky Derby. So probably whoever wins this race will be seeing the first weekend of September back at Churchill for the Run for the Roses.
Yep. So real quick for the people that don't, there's not just 20 horses that pay their entry fee and get to the Derby. You have to actually qualify. So this is one of the races that will get you points. Brent, do you have anybody eyed in this one?
Well, the first horse you have to talk about in this race is Maxfield, the 10 horse. He's coming off he won the Breeders' Futurity back in October in really impressive fashion, beat a couple good horses, Governor Morris and Enforceable, who've come back to run well as a 3-year-old. He was pointed to run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but got injured and has not made it back to the track since. He's one of the horses, and his trainer's one of the people that's actually appreciated this Derby having to be pushed back, because Maxfield's a horse that probably would have had to miss it, but now will have a chance to run in it. And if he does, he's a horse that if he gets back up to where he looked in his last race, well, he's 2 for 2 lifetime. He's going to be a horse that's hard to beat. But the question is he ready to come back? Is he 100% off his injury? Or are there some other horses here that are in better form? That's really the question you have to ask yourself. I think you have to include Maxfield on any pick 3 ticket or pick 5 ticket, because I would not want to get beat by a horse that may end up going off as a Derby favorite. If all things go according to plan, he definitely could.
For sure. Just scanning through the program, I'm trying to find somebody to pick out outside of yours. The 11 attachment rate, kicked off 2020, narrowly lost in a maiden special weight, and then broke maiden the very next race, 20 days later, in a mile race. And then followed that up. They threw him in a grade 3 stake at Aqueduct. Narrowly lost that one, and then has improved his speed numbers every single time, and then ran the Unbridled at Gulfstream and narrowly lost that one too. So definitely knocking on the door. The 11, it's kind of average in all of its early, middle, and late pace. Just trying to pick somebody out here. Has never been out of the money, or once out of the money in the very first lifetime race. So Personally, for me, attachment rate is a horse that I would use underneath. Yeah,
I don't see him winning this race.
Trying to find somebody.
The other horses. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, have you guys looked at this 2-horse pneumatic at all?
Yeah, that's one of the other horses I would like to talk about.
Yeah, he's clearly outclassing these lower speed classes that he's racing against, and has some finishing speed. The only problem is that he's run shorter races, so you gotta wonder
But look at who his dam is. Teardrop out of a Tappet. Tappets are one of the most well known for producing distance horses.
Yep.
So the pedigree is definitely there for Pneumatic to be able to run those distance races.
And he's not a speed. I mean,
He
obviously
didn't set the pace.
right. He's not exactly a speed horse either. So he looks like he can finish really well. So I don't think he'll have any problem going.
And he jumped up. He jumped up in distance from his first race to his second race, and he ran even stronger.
Yeah. So I kind of
Pneumatic is one. Pneumatic is one I would use.
So we're for sure throwing on Maxfield and Pneumatic.
The other horse I want to talk about, just kind of get your all's opinion on him, would be New York Traffic. New York Traffic is the 6th horse in this field and has run in a couple pretty big races recently. Ran in the Risen Star down at Fairgrounds in Louisiana, which is a Kentucky Derby points race. Ran a pretty good third. Got outkicked by Modernist and Major Fed, who's also in this race. He closed really well and was able to catch up. New York Traffic stalled out to run third. But that was in a mile and an eighth. Then cutting back to this distance, well, actually it went out even further distance, a mile and 3/16.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to hold off Major Fed. Major Fed ran 4th in that race. And New York Traffic ran 2nd to Wells Bayou in that one. Then he's coming back a little bit shorter distance, and he probably will be able to set the pace in this race. I don't really think there's too much other pace in this race. The other favorites that we talked about, Maxfield, Pneumatic, and Attachment Rate, all like to come from the back. So if New York Traffic gets a comfortable lead, I think he may be able to just hold everybody off. That is definitely something that could happen. And if he's sitting around 10-1, I think it's worth putting a stab in, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you all see.
And I don't know if you guys have trainer stats in front of you, but with this jockey trainer pair,
they love each other.
63% win on 19 races. That's impressive. So good stats there with this trainer.
NY Traffic seems like a horse that I would like. I'm getting like Exacta vibes off of this horse. This is a horse that I would toss an Exacta with like Pneumatic or.
I expect one of those horses, Maxfield or Pneumatic or even Major Fed, to come down and track him down at the end.
Right, but if he doesn't fade,
nobody does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, I think that if he's able to set comfortable enough pace where he doesn't get all tired out too early, he could hold everybody off. At the price, I think he's worth putting in there, but that's just my thought on it.
He's great value for sure. I like his value a lot, assuming he doesn't get bet down from this.
Right. Yeah.
All right, we move on to the 5th and final race of this pick 5, race 11. It is I lost my program. It is the War Chant Stakes. It's 1 mile on turf. 14 horse field again. Looking through the program, I particularly like the 2 Bode Cream. I'm looking at turf stats. I like to show bet, and if I'm going to bet the show, I'm going to throw it on my pick 5 ticket. Never out of the money on turf. Ran at the Black Gold Stakes at Fairgrounds. Ran his highest speed rating ever. Ran 3rd to Hieronymus and Pixelate, 2 other horses in this race. So definitely a horse that I will throw in my show picks probably. Any horses you guys are eyeing in this one to finish it out?
This is definitely an interesting race. 3-year-olds on the turf. I've followed South Bend a little bit, the 1 horse, because he ran on some dirt races back in his 2-year-old career. So I've seen him run a couple times, but I think he's just a step below a lot of the horses in this field. One that's definitely up there would be Field Pass. The 5 horse has won a grade 3 his last out. The Jeff Ruby Stakes, which is on synthetic, I believe. So not exactly the same surface, but a horse that also beat South Bend a couple back. And
go 1 gate down.
Yeah, has run 2 really good races in the 2020 season.
Yep.
As far as pick 5 goes, I mean, it's hard not to just pencil in Hieronymus on this and call it a day. I mean, he's such a monster at this level. I mean, it's just Right. I mean, his last 102, he went 103 and just blew everybody else out. So it's I mean, yeah. I don't.
The turf races are just so tough.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have a very good read on this one, but Hieronymus just looks on paper like
Yeah, because I mean,
unbeatable.
even the horse that Garrett talked about, Bodie Cream, he was only a couple back. He was only
And
a length and a
the one in between
back.
the two of them was Pixelate. And looking over,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the replay, but on notes, awkward break went 3 wide on the turn. So another one maybe to throw in the mix.
Yeah, all three of those horses looked like they were right there at the end. I mean, Hermes has proven it that, that's a horse that likes to win. The horse that's going to try hard and try to get the win. But in 2 out of his last 3 races, he's won by less than a length.
That's
The
true.
other race was a dominant win.
Yep.
But I think it's definitely. I mean, the turf races are always tough, especially when there's no bricks and mortar around that
Yeah,
you can almost think is a lock.
for
But,
sure.
yeah, Hieronymus, you definitely have to use. It's just a question of how many other horses to try to include.
I got one more to look at. Jump to the 9, smooth like straight.
Oh, that's interesting.
Some decent workouts. Trying to gauge where he's going to be for this month. He only ran once in February. Lost, what was that, in Pasadena Stakes at Santa Anita by a length in his best race ever. Lost to a horse from Great Britain. Was the favorite in that one. But the horse he lost to ran a 134 mile on turf. That's pretty fast. So another one that's got the early speed. This is probably your pace setter. Am I right, guys?
Oh yeah.
And
Look at that.
then
Yeah, I mean, Hieronymus is going to be right there too.
Right. It'll be Those two will be up front for sure.
started career at Sprint, and then they moved him back, and then started doing a little bit better. So the 2 or what is the 9. I've got the 9 written down. The 2, 6, and 12. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Get
a
'em all covered.
fake ticket, sure. Ride them all up.
Yeah, especially on the last leg. You don't want to get beat.
You don't
on
want
the
to get
last
screwed
leg.
over on the
No.
Singling the last leg of anything, even a pick 3, is one of the more heart-wrenching things you can do.
Oh,
And then it's not fun because you know exactly what you get paid out if you win. You need a whole field to
right.
have some excitement. All right, so circling back to race 7, are we gonna stay singling Dunbar Road? Do we have any competitors that we would like to throw?
I think you have to include She's a Julie just in case Dunbar Road isn't back to 100% after the layoff. You have to hope that one of those two are, because they're definitely the class of the field, those two.
All right, so the 4 and the 8, Dunbar Road and She's a Julie in race 7. Race 8, refresh me. Who are you putting on there?
There were the 2 big favorites in this one. I think you might be good with just those 2, the 9 Sharing as well as the 14 Alms.
That's yep. All right, so we keep it at 2 there. So back-to-back 2 horses in that one. And then race 9, I've got the 3, the 8, and the 9.
Yeah,
for there.
and then you're getting a little bit of price on the 9 too. You might, if you can hit that one, your ticket's looking juicy.
Your ticket's looking a little better. And then the 10, I have the 2, the 6, and the 10 in race 10. I think that's
I like that.
right.
Yeah.
That's Pneumatic, New York Traffic, and then the favorite Maxfield.
Yep. And the one we just did, the 2, the 6, the 9, and the 12. That's the most we have on there. The 4, just trying to buff up the last race.
Yeah, I think that's honestly pretty well constructed. I don't know how much that's going to come out to. You might have to split that one up depending on how much you like to play with. But
all right, so just an example to do the math to see how much a pick 5 would cost with this amount of horses. So it'd be 2 in the first race times 2 in the second race times 3 in the third race times 3 in the fourth race times 4 in the last race. We get 144. Does that sound about right?
So if you're playing at $1, it would cost $144. But if you're playing 50-cent minimum,
50-cent minimum,
$72.
Yep, times a half. You got a $72 ticket for that pick 5.
And if you
So-
find a friend that wants to play too, you can play it for just $36 each.
Yep, that is our pick 5 for Saturday's pick 5 at Churchill, all stakes races. I will screenshot that. I'll put that on our Twitter. Make sure you get that out. I know I will have nothing to do this weekend, so I will definitely be watching some horse racing.
Yeah, nothing else is on.
Yeah,
No.
I'm certainly real excited for those 2 big ones at Churchill, especially the 4-year-olds and up with Owendale, my boy, as well as Global Campaign. And then that next race, the Kentucky Derby points race with Maxfield. A lot of people have been hyping him up since injury. I think that somebody else might be able to steal the show, whether it's Pneumatic, the unproven horse, or New York Traffic, the horse that could get loose on the lead.
That's gonna be a good one for sure. I might have to put in a little exacta box there on that one.
He's feeling it.
Yeah.
Nice.
All
right. Well, if you're watching this, pull up the races, pull up our video, go chronologically, watch ours, put that pick 5 together ahead of time. Joe, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Sure.
It was fun. Yeah.
Brent, good to talk again.
Always fun.
Hopefully, since we have no other sports coming in the next foreseeable weeks, we might try a few more horses since they're the only thing competing right now. Something to talk about.
Off of Korean baseball, so
yeah, you need to get off.
Else. Yeah.
Last I talked to him,
it's not working out.
3.
No,
the ROI is not there, fellas. Let me tell you.
No. All right. Well, good talking to you guys.
All right.
You too.
Take care.